Folks are hearing now about double masking. Do you believe that that's advisable and makes a difference?
You know, it likely does because, I mean, this is a physical covering to prevent droplets and virus to get in. So if you have a physical covering with one layer, you put another layer on, it just makes common sense.
So why not 3 layers, huh? The almighty Dr. Fauci has gone from the general public should not wear masks to actually you really ought to be wearing 2 masks in less than a year. But it doesn't stop there. The media is now trying to scare you into, that's right, triple masking. I'm not kidding.
If other people aren't wearing their masks or they're wearing them improperly, we need to protect ourselves. So experts say you can double up with a tight weave fabric mask for added protection. Now, Virginia Tech researchers found that doubling up these cloth masks increases the efficacy from 50 to 75%. A 3-layer mask could block up to 90% of the particles.
Up to 90%. So 4 masks, you're getting plus 90%. That's right, quad masking. That's the future of mitigation measures. What really is the ultimate end goal here? To discuss this with us, we've got someone who's been on the right side of common sense since the very beginning of this pandemic, Dr. David Samadi, author of The Ultimate Manual. Doc, good to see you again.
Good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Doc, I have proof on the internet of making jokes last summer about how just give it, and I was only half kidding, just give it time, we'll be told that there'll be a need for 2 masks. Oh, and also we really need N95 masks, but they're going to wait till all this stuff that we're being told will work doesn't work the way it was promised. How did we get to the triple mask madness?
Well, look, there's the science behind this is very, very weak, and there's no real experiments or real publication that talks about, like, you know, how many masks you need, etc. And if you remember, Dr. Fauci talked about the fact that a year ago, masks in a situation like this doesn't really help. And then later on, he said that it actually, like, you know, it's a mandatory, etc. So they've gone flip-flop on this mask business many, many times. My advice to people at this point is that, you know, and the fact that we're going from science to common sense. Remember, we were talking about a lot of this as being common sense, and they were ignoring it, and now they're coming on our side of life. If you have access to one of these N95s, then I think that's probably the best one. That covers 95% of the particles. It's ridiculous to wear 2 or 3 or 4, and people are losing their mind. This is not even healthy to get into that kind of discussion. And, you know, breathing through these masks, it's very difficult. I don't know if you've had even one of them for long hours. It gets sweaty. It's very difficult to breathe. It's not healthy. So I think that if you're in a crowded area, wearing a mask for yourself to protect yourself and others is fine. The K95 is the best one. This is the one that I think, like, a lot of people already have seen, but it has to be sealed. And again, it's very difficult to breathe with this. Now, most people are using this mask. This is the one that you see, like, everyone gets them. I recommend people to, like, throw them out every 3-4 hours. It's cheap, and women get a lot of makeup, a lot of bacteria. They sneeze in it. So don't wear this thing for the entire day or so. A lot of people are wearing these, like, very thin cloth. This is probably not as helpful. And then you can, of course, get the thicker one. But to put everyone's mind at ease, these are the 2 that are helpful. The KN95 is the better one. And let's move on with this. The numbers are getting flat. The number of hospitalization is slowing down. People, it's up to their choice to get the vaccines. We need to cover our nursing home and elderly, that people have comorbid disease. Get those antibodies. I don't know why politicians in their 30s and 40-year-olds are lining up for the vaccine. You're taking it away from a poor 90-year-old, 85-year-old in the nursing home that they need that vaccine over you guys. So, yes, use common sense. That's what I would say.
Let's talk about now, you mentioned vaccine prioritization, and there's obviously a lot of places across the country where teachers are considered essential workers, and so they have, I know it's true in New York City where I'm doing this show, they've gotten to the front of the line really for COVID vaccinations, and yet we're also seeing that there's a resistance to this. Here's CNN's Aaron Burnett with the new Biden Chief of Staff, White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, talking about which side of this they're on.
Ron, why do you think that the unions in many cases are overruling what the studies show?
I don't think unions are overruling studies. I think what you're seeing is schools that haven't made the investments to keep the students safe. I mean, again, the Wisconsin study were classrooms of 12 on average. So that requires a lot more classrooms, a lot more teachers, or other kinds of arrangements to get them small. Podding students very carefully. So we need to do the things to open safely. Most of the teachers I talk to, they want to be back in the classroom.
That's true.
First off, he's on what's called Pebble Beach there, Doc, just a little bit of insider journo stuff. And he's probably 15 feet away from the camera there, out in the open air by himself, wearing a mask, of course, on national TV. Put that aside for a second. Why aren't schools opening? Why is there any question at this point at all about the safety to children and for adults, especially given that they're getting vaccinated in high numbers in a lot of major cities?
That's correct. And if you go back and look at what I spoke about 9 months ago, Scott Atlas has spoken about this many, many times. Many studies from Europe has come, and we have proof to the fact that school is absolutely safe to open them up. Forget about the union and the fact that they may or may not want to go to work. They're sitting at home doing this Google and Zoom and all this stuff. I think our kids are being completely wasted away. They're not learning anything. It's a waste of time, and the damage and the risk outweighs the benefit. So I think it's safe to open the school. As we said many, many times for the last 9 months, kids don't die from this. The ones that have died from this have some comorbid disease, bronchitis, asthma, diabetes. Those kids need to stay at home. Teachers that have a lot of diabetes and medical issues should stay home. But most teachers from K1 to K12 are younger. The risk of them getting this and dying from this is extremely low. And I think it's absolutely safe to open up our school, and it's time. Even CDC now is saying that it's safe to open the school. So they're catching up with everything that we said 9 months ago.
Tell me about this as well. New York Times had a piece here. And, I remember when even bringing this up, you're considered a conspiracy theorist. Your coronavirus test is positive. Maybe it shouldn't be. And in the text here, it says the standard tests are diagnosing huge numbers of people who may be carrying relatively insignificant amounts of the virus. Most of these people are not likely to be contagious, and identifying them may contribute to bottlenecks that prevent those who are contagious from being found in time. Doc, I try to make this case based on the numbers, the data, just based on the fail rate of tests. If you're running millions and millions of tests with a 2% fail rate, a 1% fail rate, a false positive rate is what I mean, that's actually a large number of people. People forget this, that are getting positive results. So the New York, is it safe? Tell us what's going on here and why are we only hearing about this now?
So I want the public to really understand. The timing of this is very curious because this is something that we spoke about, that there are a lot of false positives. Now, at that time, when we were talking about this 6 to 9 months ago, they called it conspiracy, etc. But the bottom line was that right now the PCR is supposed to magnify the amount of genetic component that they find in your system. So it has a cycle threshold that runs about 40 to 45 cycles. What that means is that if you've had any exposure to COVID, or if you had COVID and you recovered, all those small particles in your system that are still there, but doesn't cause any contagiousness, you're not going to get anybody else sick. You're perfectly fine. Because you're running such a high number, you're going to find a lot of people that are normal, they're not contagious, but they're called positive COVID. And as a result, the numbers are falsely escalated. Panic, fear, we have the growth. And as a result, based on that data, we locked down our economy, we shut down the country, etc. Now, WHO and CDC are saying, wait a second, we should not do this 45 cycle. We should do it about 30 and look for those patients who are really sick, real positive, and find that real data, which always made a lot of sense. And that's going to lower the numbers. It's going to make this pandemic look much, much better. And the new administration is obviously going to be very happy about this. Why all of a sudden all of this is happening now? That's something for you to figure out and the public to decide as to why. We know exactly.
That's what I've got a doctorate in there, Doc. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining. Good to see you.